while I was trying to do some future goal gazing. I think that's the reason Shiny gave it to me. Is that Shiny? Was that the looks that made you tell me that I should talk about future? Yeah? Okay. So what I've done is, what I've tried to do is, I think my last 22 years of whatever I have seen and the numerous amount of books and the discussions what I have had, I think technology follow people. It's not the other way around. Whether you like it or not. Can you get this light a little dim? Because all I can see is, oh, thank you. Now, still trying to adjust my eyes. Predict what is going to be the future for tech. Start looking at how human behavior is changing. What all societal changes are coming. And these are very, very closely interrelated. What I've tried to do is I've tried to look at changes what are happening and how tech is kind of working towards it. Let's look at what are critical social changes what we see happening all around us. If you look at the overall world, especially India, the closer market home, India is getting younger and will keep getting younger for almost 8 further years. What it means is, at the same point in time while we are getting younger, the generation which was born in 2000 is getting into workforce. Over the next 10 years, these are the people who are going to be the prime breadwinner. They are going to be in the workforce, they will have the maximum disposable incomes. They also will be probably getting into a family structure and getting into individually decisive places when it comes to financial decisions. And the second biggest change which is going to happen is that 5G, like we were talking about 2G, 5G is going to become a reality, which means we will be into a hyper-connected, always available, always on world. How will it impact? When they want it. There is nothing called as wait time. So gestation period is getting lower. You need to have the tools which can instantly deliver. Think about it. I mean, would somebody had thought that you can order grocery and you would need grocery to come in 10 minutes to your place? And there was so much talk about it when this happened. But at the same point in time today, if you look at the scale up which is happening on instant grocery, is massive. A testimony of how the consumption behavior is changing. Otherwise, why would you need to order a Coke at 12 p.m. in night? And this has all changed. If you look at what has communication, the advent of communication and technology has done to the social behavior. 23 years back when I started my career, to be able to, and I used to work into a CEO's office as a chief of staff, my first job, or the glorified EA or PA, whatever you call it, which means you are the punching bag for the CEO. When he wants to shout out at the big guy, but does not want to shout out, he'll shout out at you, you will be the shoulder, and he's giving punches to somebody else. In that job, we had these 34 offices across. Every time you need to speak to somebody, emails were a far-fetched idea at that point in time. You need to plan what all need to be spoken to, and then put a letter, more often than not, to the field offices, and then send it across over a courier, or there was a phone call. And half of the time the phone call has to happen at 9 a.m. or the next day 9 a.m. Till 9 a.m. you have to wait because of after 9 the sales guys will be out in office. You did not have a chance of doing a plus there. Oh, I forgot to add 2 more words, or did not have that WhatsApp to do. So you had to plan every communication in one go. Today we live in WhatsApp era. You can say, oh, I forgot to. Anand Mahindra, oh, I forgot to add from there. You can choose to say that. And that has translated into your habits of having everything when you like. You don't want to plan that cold drink early in the morning because of shops will be closed, because of you know that even if you order at 11:55, it will be at your doorstep at 12:05. And that is what I am trying to talk about. This younger and connected generation is going to demand, is your tech stack ready to serve for that? And believe you me, as marketers, and I am spending disproportionate amount of time out here because of just to set the context. As marketers, Unlike a chief marketing officer of yesteryears, when you were responsible for creation, today most of the marketers are responsible for managing inefficiencies. Your IT stack will not deliver, your campaign will fail. Your KPIs are going to hit. Your customer service will not work right. The customer experience will start deteriorating. It's your KPIs which are going to hit. So think about how you can manage inefficiencies and how your tech stack and your entire stack which you are working with to connect with your consumers is allowing you to do that. It's the era of supercharge always on. Whether we like it or not, 25 years back, the first computer I worked with, anybody wants to make a guess the RAM or the hard disk capacity of that computer? Forget about RAM. Yeah? Sorry?
256.
256 is higher at that point in time. Yeah? My RAM was almost 2 MB and hard disk was 128. This I am talking about HP Concentrix some in 1997. Faggot. Today, the mobile which your kid carries, or the bike which you drive, or the car which you drive, has much more RAM than the hard disk in the damn system which was supposed to send. In fact, as they say, the first computer which NASA used to put the man on the moon had lesser computing power than the mobile phone in your pocket. And we don't anticipate this, but over next 10 years, the computing power is going to go at least 50x more than what it is today. Look at these sizes. Every passing year, the size of a chip gets down by more than 10x. What it means is that you will have devices which will have extreme amount of power. They will be data guzzling. They'll be experience creating. Do you have the bandwidth and are you preparing to handle a consumer which has such kind of a devices? Is your business ready? Is your tech stack ready for that? And hence, the tech debt, as we call it, is going to impact businesses more than the debt on your balance sheet. You can manage the debt on your balance sheet. There are ways and means to borrow to be able to have to be able to manage that. But to be able to manage tech debt, you really need to start planning now. And I'm not talking about doomsday here. And that's the reason I'm saying it's the era whereas co-working is going to emerge much more than what it is today. I mean, 15 years back, if somebody would have said 3 different competing brands working from the same room, you would have laughed. And today, that's a reality. This a leverage infrastructure is going to be the future. The AGI, we are still in an era where we talk about AI. It's a narrow AI because of what you question. Every model you develop, you question one, and that model will only talk about that specific task for which the model is being developed. But in next 10 years, this is going to convert into artificial general intelligence. What it means is that you will have machines which can understand both a linear as well as a spatial life cycle of a consumer or a business. Is your business, are you ready to do the storytelling? Think about it. They say in next 10 years, over 80% of the movies will be generated using the system and not short actually. You'll be using systems to generate a movies, which essentially what I mean is in a chapter of a Amazon Prime or a Netflix, you will have a capacity to be able to not put an ad, but have if it's an ad about say breakfast, a yoga bar can do a breakfast out there target, which means the actors in that movie can be seen eating yoga bar rather than yoga bar, trying to pause the general narrative and put an ad, and there could be a second cereal company which could be showing a different ad depending on what kind of a consumers are you targeting. Am I sounding hyperventing? Please try for yourself. I mean, yesterday we were looking at Newsroom AI. That's very limited use case about how to do production at a mass scale. And this is going to get reality the moment you have a artificial general intelligence sitting. Think about it, how is your storytelling evolving to be able to connect and work in that kind of an era? It's about flexibility and longer. I mean, think about it. Earlier, touching the screen was a bad thing. If you think about a TV era, if you touch the screen, it won't work. Then came an era whereas touching the screen is the way to interact. But if you touch it hard, the screen will crack. Today, we are standing and we are already experiencing screens where you can do a fold screens. But think about it. Why you have to have, if it's about interaction with the screen, then do you really need to have a screen which comes in a very, very specific format? Why can't I have a phone which is designed only for me versus you having a phone which is designed for your hand? Why should a palm size not be used to design? And why should I even have a palm for that hand, for holding the phone? Why the phone can't be built on around in my environment? And that's the kind of a device environment which we are getting into. Which essentially means that your digital assets, which today are made for a specific environment, need to evolve. Your tech stack need to match that. The second biggest problem in today's devices is not about a computing power, but about the juice which device carries, which is about battery. Because of, I mean, if you take the battery out of your all devices, battery consumes almost 60% of the real estate in a device. Is responsible for more than 80% of the weight of a device, almost. If you take that out, or if you can miniaturize that, then you have extreme powerful devices which are extremely agile and you can work for very, very long time, which essentially means that interaction between human and device grows up. Do you have content? Do you have a stack? Whereas if you have multi-variable scenario, today we are talking about consumer 360, whereas we talk about the touch points. And these touch points are either digital purely or physical purely. What about physical touch points? Where the consumer keeps yo-yoing with. Are you able to pull that all data across? Because of, if you have a data pipe available, computing pipe available, but device proliferation happens. Your businesses need to start. Not only that, we keep talking about data, but data at rest, data at movement, data perpetual, and data with an infinite lifetime are four different types of a data. And are your data stacks built to be able to take incremental data into picture? Which means yesterday a consumer's habit and today's consumer habit can change very, very differently. The same person can behave very differently over next 2 days. I wasn't wearing probably a smartwatch yesterday, but today I have worn a smartwatch. I have become more cognizant of my eating habits or a health and lifestyle habit. I might not choose to drink the cold drink which I was drinking yesterday. And if you push me the ad at that point in time, if your Martech stack is not built accordingly, you probably will have a challenge out there. I already spoke about owned versus distributed. We are living in an era of Web 1.0 and 2.0 right now. 3.0 is coming up. And just to give a context, 1.0 was almost like a TV. One person produces, everybody else listens. You had a website, people can just come, read what you say. 2.0 is about co-creation. So you have assets where consumers or other parties can participate to produce content, to produce together. Where 3.0 is distributed ownership. It's like, had it been for Web 3.0 completely, I won't have been able to use any of these Jiffies which I am using without the permission which I have very easily went ahead, downloaded and used it. Yeah, it's about owned and distributed. It's an era of consent, privacy and security. Today the CMPs, in fact, as we speak right now, the Indian data protection bill is getting tabled in the monsoon season. It has just got a nod from Parliament. That bill is going to come in. So all the data which you have, which is not considered, if you don't have a CMP, you might get into a trouble at that point in time. It's about moving versus available always. I mean, this might sound right as a science fiction, but autopilot cars are not a distant future. The moment you have a car which is on autopilot, if you take the driver out of the car, the entire ergonomics of the car changes. Today, the town planning happens in a particular way because of you want to stay near to your work, because of you have to drive, because of human traffic. But think about it, if you can live into an era where driving is no more a problem, which essentially means that this hall could be a car which is moving on its own at a specific pace, and we all could be working together. Do you really need this kind of a town planning? Is your business stack ready for being able to handle that future? Can happen 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, I don't know. But this certainly looks like very much a possibility. And then, last but not the least, it's about gig to swipes. It's no more the workplace is no more the same. We are already looking at gig workers. We are looking at and in the era of left and right swipe. Your brand, whatever you call it, brand trust, brand love, is becoming more and more buzzword. As long as you don't serve for a purpose, you are not going to be becoming relevant. So all of this, I think, is all about how you reinvent from the current stack to a next stack to be able to connect with your consumers.